Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We are in for a great show tonight. Geraldine Orozco will be here momentarily to discuss all things spiritual, their final appearance of 2024 on the show tonight. We're going to be glad to have her here. But first, let's say hello to each and every one of you as we do our roll call each and every night. We have Race Fan in the gold medal position, Kitty Caddywhack with a silver, SJ with a bronze medal tonight. Hi there, Robert Lamoth. Fapster is here. Fapster will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Frankie B, Bar Madison, Road Flare, Brown Dwarf, Lee the Bee again. How y'all doing? Thank you for coming on in, my friends. Eternity Eternal, Mel WD40 is here, lubing us up for tonight's show, because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. You don't want any of that rigidness. It doesn't feel good. He makes it smooth, like butter. Butter. Alex Sanchez, how you doing tonight? Thomas Rock, Millennium, my man. Operation Shutdown. Brian Drummond, nice to have you all here. Latchkey, JSCO. Jeff Steve Garvey is here. He'll hit a home run for you. Tim Mothman and his goatee, two separate entities. Thanks for both of you coming on in. As we continue on with our roll call tonight, Al Garay over on Twitch ran 14 miles on a treadmill to warm up for Geraldine's show tonight. Kimberly Burgess is here. Kimberly Burgess will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Scrolling on down, let's say hello next to, let's see here, Operation Shutdown. Christine Lynn, thanks for coming on in. As we continue on with our roll call, Kurt M., good to have you here. Who's next? Richard Minnick, thanks for coming on in. Human Carl is here, a great veteran of the United States Air Force. We love our Human Carl around here, not to be misconstrued with Alien Carl. We got to make sure there's a difference between the two. We don't want Human Carl all of a sudden getting picked up and flown away. Richard Minnick, thank you so much for kicking off the Super Chat tonight. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you very, very much, Richard. As we continue on with our roll call, Paramarv, nice to see you. Invisible Tracker, J Truth Seeker, Sierra, thank you all for coming on in. Skip to Malou, good morning to you. Oob to Joe's Maine, you've got aliens. Yeah, you do, Joe. How's Lubla? Give us an update on how Lubla is. We would appreciate it. Has anybody checked out the new swag? Let's be honest. Have you checked out the new swag? You might want to. It's good stuff. It's good stuff out there on spacedoutradio.com. And let's see here. Let's see. In the studio. How you doing? Chris? Teen? Oh my, I just got absolutely stunned by Geraldine's gorgeous hair tonight. Oh my goodness. We're going to be singing Chris de Burgh's Lady in Red coming up here momentarily. I better get the lyrics popped up. Mike Rivers, how you doing? And Juliana, how's it going? Good to see you. Let's see here. Yeah, in the studio, Paramarv, Hillbilly Herb, and Jennifer Beveridge. Good to see you both. All right, Jennifer, make sure Kim doesn't charge you for autographs afterwards either. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. And why do we not have this going? Why is that not working? Hold on. Testing 1 2. 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 Huh. We have an issue. We have an audio issue. Testing 1 2. Oh, well, here we go. This, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I'm your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair this morning. We welcome you to tonight's show on our every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out Bumblefoot, read the newswire, check out our site. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show tonight. The lovely and talented Geraldine Orozco will be here momentarily to take care of all of our good needs when it comes to the Zen and the Chi. And you know what? Her hair looks great. Are you bugging me about my hair? Is that what you're doing? Are you sure? You don't like this little tuft that I have sticking out here? Yeah, I don't know what the hell's the matter with that. But either way, Geraldine, let's just bring you on. How you doing?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
We are apparently just doing a YouTube show tonight. We're doing a YouTube show tonight. And yeah, my audio was a little out because I was kind of looking to the side here. I'm having some audio issues with my radio side. So I had to stop that. And for some reason, I'm still having some issues. But that's okay.
Take your time.
We're going to stop that because we got to figure that part out. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you doing?
I am good, thank you. I am very good. I am hanging on out, and I am just getting ready to think about starting my Christmas shopping.
Oh, okay. That's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing my Christmas shopping. You know, this is probably in 2024 the smallest list I have of anything. And I don't know why, but I just decided that I don't really need anything this year. Yeah. I have 2 drawers full of socks. 2 drawers.
You're all set.
You know, I need cologne. That's it. Cologne.
Oh, that's a nice gift.
What's on your Christmas wish list this year?
Non-consumerism. I don't like to participate with this consumerism on Christmas. I don't. I refuse. I think. No.
I got to ask you. All right, because we're going to do things a little bit differently tonight.
Yeah.
because the radio side isn't here, so we don't really have to time anything out. What's the worst gift you've ever got? Or what gift do you hate getting that you seem to get?
Gosh, I don't know. To be honest, just the thought that someone takes the time to get something is just, it's so wonderful. And I don't know. I think I'm so grateful for any thoughts that people have. I'm not sure there's something that I hate to get. I don't think I've ever gotten something I don't like,
You know what I hate?
What?
I'm going to tell you what I hate. Gift cards.
Really? But then you get to choose what you want.
This is, see, I look at it oppositely.
Okay.
I do. I look at it that if you don't, by this time in our relationship, whether you are my child, my friend, or whatever, if
Yeah.
you don't know me well enough that you have to get me a gift card, it shows me that you didn't even try, that you don't even care. I totally look at it the opposite way, because I'm pretty easy to shop for. I'm very easy to shop for. If you want, I would sooner accept a pair of, you get those 6-pack of ankle socks from Walmart for like $7. I would prefer that over a gift card, because I love socks for Christmas.
Yeah.
See, Mike in the chat room agrees with me. Gift cards are very impersonal, almost insulting. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay. That's
Gift cards. But
interesting. Yeah, that's a valid point, especially if it's someone so close to you, I suppose. Absolutely. I understand that. Yeah.
And what's even worse is I went to a Christmas party once, and I don't drink from Starbucks. Don't like Starbucks. Number one, because I don't drink coffee, but number two, I don't speak the coffee language, because that's a whole language on its own.
Yeah.
And I got Starbucks gift card.
Yeah. Okay. So I could say maybe that's one that I will regift to someone that could use it, because I definitely do. I don't like Starbucks either.
Have you ever regifted between you and I?
Yeah, of course. Why not? Actually, all the time, honestly. I mean, even my own things I try to give away, and try to be minimal with the things that I have. I really try to be as minimal as possible.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. That one really surprises me. I'm actually quite blown away by that. Hearing that from you.
Oh, yeah. Well, I never used to be like that before. I mean, used to be, well, I don't know, to be honest. I mean, when I had my own business, I spent zero time shopping, zero time, I had like clothes that I had from the corporate world, and I'm literally still wearing the clothes that I've had from like 16 years ago. This shirt is from 16 years ago.
If I could fit into something that I wore 16 years ago, I'd still have my old wardrobe too.
Sure. Okay. That's valid. Yeah.
I have no problem with that. I am the worst clothes hoarder ever. I am.
That's okay. But it's so fun to begin to clean it up. I mean, why not? It's a wonderful exercise of like detachment and recycling and clearing. So
if you were to gift yourself something for Christmas, what would you gift yourself?
Gift myself. Let's see. I am really, I paint a lot. So anything for painting, like canvases, I'll go buy canvases. I'm also really into bonsai. So I have my little garden with little bonsai. I spend a lot of time on them. So I love that. And gardening.
Like real bonsai?
Real bonsai. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That is awesome.
Yeah. So I love that. And so I spend a lot of time with my babies.
Oh, man. I'm going to come over to your house for dinner one night, and I'm going to steal one of your bonsai trees.
I will give one to you. Yes, please do come.
Oh, yeah. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. Moving on, I owe you a giant thank you.
Really? Why?
Because of your beautiful message for the 10-year anniversary special that everybody put on. And I will say that not just your comment, but all the comments that Tim put together, I literally was sitting here in tears.
Oh, that's so great. I haven't seen it yet, but literally congratulations.
Yeah, it was amazing, and thank you so much for being a part of that, because you have a giant piece of my heart for our great friendship over the years and everything that you do for me. And I just when I saw you on there, my eyes just welled right up. So thank
Oh,
you very much for your
thank
love.
you. Thank you, Dave. You're amazing. Thank you. All the hard work that you put into this. It's a true I mean, it's something to look up to. It is inspiring. It's inspiring, your commitment.
Well, thank
So,
you.
yeah.
Thank you. I want to get into a couple of subjects with you tonight.
Yeah.
Okay. And just for our audience, because we're doing this a little bit differently tonight, if you guys want to start posting your questions, feel free. I haven't had a chance to say hi to everybody because we are doing this a little bit differently because the radio side is not working tonight. I am going to have to reboot one of my machines here. But if you guys want to start putting your questions in capital letters, I will get them to Geraldine over the next little bit here because we're going to do it a little differently. But I have a couple of things for you, Geraldine,
Yeah.
that I wanted to talk about. And normally we get pretty in depth with everything, but I want to get your opinion on this first and foremost. When you started kind of doing your own thing on YouTube, you started that shortly after I had, with SOR and everything. There were very few people, even though there were hundreds, there were still very few people who were putting out content like you, like I do. And today it seems that social media and podcasting, YouTube and other branches are packed with it. Packed with it. And I think that's a good thing that people are expressing themselves. Okay. But I also feel that sometimes there's too much. So my question to you is this. A lot of our listeners will listen to numerous shows. They'll listen to mine, they'll listen to yours, they'll listen to other spiritualists. How do they, as a listener, resonate with what is the proper message? Because there's so many people giving so many different messages now.
Yeah, I think you touched on a topic that is super important and one that I really want to talk about tonight, which is um, an aspect of humanity that is new to us. That has, I mean, our humanity has so much access to information through the technology and the advancements of technology than we've ever had. And so we're kind of turning into a new kind of species that is overloaded with instant gratification, instant information available at any time, in a snap of a finger. Like whatever question you have, you can look up and it's right there for you. So this is good in some ways because we're learning and the world is connecting with information. We're learning about each other in rapid ways. And we're growing and we're learning and we're listening to information. But I think the question is, how do we discern what's really, in alignment with us? And I think discernment is essentially the key. I think the cultivation of discernment is really important. And actually, another part of that is, how do we discern and how do we employ our time in being selective in the things that we're listening to? And also the development of our own internal guidance system as a result of that. Because a lot of information isn't always the best. It's not always needed for the human. It might actually be a distraction from the human being able to connect to themselves. So I think that in order to discern things, we really need to know ourselves. That means that we need to spend time in meditation to connect with ourselves, to get to know what are our values, what do we really value as part of our ethics, as part of our moral system. I think that a lot of the problem is that we have no idea what our core values are, what our core ethics really truly are. A lot of these concepts are borrowed concepts. And so we apply these borrowed ideals in the process of listening and, taking in information. And that's where people become very confused about the information that they hear. And then they don't know what's right, what's wrong. Um, But that being said, identifying your core values and your core ethics is really it's a practice of a 0 point, because the more we learn to come into neutrality and abide by higher laws, higher universal laws, as part of our ethics of unity, of peace and harmony for ourselves and others, health, vitality, longevity, abundance, these kinds of core universal values that are abiding by the natural laws of the universe, the more we learn to connect with those, the easier it's going to be for us to discern things that are inverted aspects of nature, inverted aspects of truth. And that's something that we have to cultivate in ourselves. We have to develop that as a tool. And it's hand in hand with our intuitive faculties, because the more you align with nature, the more you align with core universal truths and values, or at least the process of discernment of these universal truths, the easier it is for us to navigate the overwhelming amounts of information that are available to us. So I think that in itself is a lot of work that people will take time to step away from listening to too much information and kind of silence their mind, and then maybe access the information from a more neutral perspective.
Hmm. Is it a matter of information overload, that because we're soul searching so hard to find something positive that we can attach to, that we are seeking information from any type of area rather than, doing what we should do as humans and be selective?
Yeah, and I think it comes down to this concept of, we undervalue that what we really are innately. We are a source of infinite potential, and we are a source of connecting to a web, a library of information that is available through our self, through our energetic field, actually. The access to the Akashic records, for example, is available through our bodies. And this is where we store memories of ourselves, memories of other people around us. We are constantly absorbing and inputting and recording information 360 around our body all the time. Every part of our body is processing information. But we don't realize that. We forget that. And actually, the more still we come into a state of observation, the more we're able to combine our awareness with what we're registering through the body. And that is a superpower that the human is learning to develop, because through that awareness, they have access to these records. They have access to the collective memory. And this memory that we have access to through this membrane of the morphogenetic field, that's a connection that is strengthened by, meditation, by mindfulness, by reconnection, by stillness. So this is something that, in order to really process this information in a way that is conducive for our well-being and that creates harmony in our life, we can tune into this information naturally. And a lot of the things that I have come across in my journey, as well as information, everything that I know, this is not information that I find in books. It's not information that you can find in books. This is information, maybe now you can find them, but it's not where I found them. I found it through the connection of my higher self. So I think that the more that humans begin to connect to the higher self and channel that connection to the Akashic record, this is where we begin to really access any kind of information. And it also trains the human not to become absolutely attached with any one way of looking at things, or to become identified with things, to become more fluid. Because when you're connecting to the laws of the universe and you use that as a perception to evaluate, information, whether it's what you're accessing through your internal self, your intuitive mind, or some external information, you can easily feel truth in the body. You train yourself to discern in a very powerful, integrated way. So that's something that we as humans have to develop, and this is all part of the development of our human technology. Right now we have we have internet, and we have that vast information. Artificial intelligence is going to take that to the next level right now. But human has access to even more information in a larger capacity, because actually the way that the human processes information is through a holographic system that is connected to our senses. So a lot of what we're exercising right now through the information of technology is just a one way of processing information. We take it in through our eyes, we hear, we listen, but those are very limited bands of frequency of information. In reality, we are multisensory, multidimensional in the way that we process information. So we are actually meant to have a larger capacity of holding larger bands of simultaneous images, feelings, emotions, understandings, insights that are multi-layered and complex. The human has the ability of doing that. But we have tastes of that when we go into, let's say, through plant medicine or through the development of our DMT to be able to access interdimensional awareness. When we have UFO sightings, when we have these massive downloads, that's multisensory information that the body is accessing. So that takes practice and cultivation and reconnection to the body. And most of humanity hasn't even touched that. We're not exercising that. And doing it through psychedelics is like the shortcut, but it doesn't develop the full system. So that's part of you. And that's something that has to be integrated. So right now we're using a very small percentage of our processing power. And in the future, this ability of being multidimensional, multisensory information processing organisms is actually going to be the new survival mechanism, because we are going to be kind of not competing, but we are going to be up against the taking over of the artificial intelligence and this massive processing engines of artificial intelligence that will, want to take that place. So we have to be like really important to understand the importance of the development of our own multisensory system.
As people try and find the message that works for them, should they shop around their ears, mind, and soul?
Yeah.
Is that important to find what works for them?
Yeah. As always, we have to try everything, but if we're going to experiment with this information, as I mentioned, we have so many different ways of learning. Our most powerful way of learning is through experience, actually. So if we really want to learn truly, truly something, we have to experience it. We have to integrate it fully into our experienced mind. Just because there's people that do nothing but eat books. I mean, they read like 50, 60 books a month. Okay. But are they really embodying any kind of, are they turning that knowledge into a wisdom, a practical wisdom? So there's a disconnect there. And so my invitation is, explore in a very deep way what you are learning. Are you aligned with it? Are you integrated with it? Have you experienced it yourself? And try out the information. And this is usually where we begin to kind of see different facets of truth, different perceptions. It's really good to expand our perceptions, because we live in a world of there's many truths that exist simultaneously that we think are opposite, and they're paradoxes, but we have to train ourselves to be able to hold space for paradoxes. And that is something that it takes time to exercise, because a lot of times we want to see things in one way. One thing is true, one thing is real, one thing is good, or one thing is bad. And it's hard for the mind to be able to expand beyond that. So I think to research, to learn, to be able to expand your mind and to have some emotional and perception flexibility is actually coming into the true nature of man, which is to align with those natural flows of trying to not be so dualistic in the way that we see things and experience things.
See, my fear as a show host is having my audience knowing that they, I can't control what they hear, and nor do I want to. Okay, or what they listen to, nor do I want to.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But the one thing I do fear about my audience is them getting bad information. Whether it's about UFOs, whether it's about spirituality, whether it's about consciousness, whether it's about near-death experiences, ghosts, Bigfoot, whatever it may be. I do, I'm very cognizant of the fact that I always want to make sure that at least with our show for those 3 hours a night, that they are getting some sort of proper guidance, and the best guidance that I as a show host can provide for them through our guests and the line of questioning that we put our guests through. And I know that's something that I shouldn't worry about, but I do. I mean, these are good people who are tuning in not just for the entertainment factor, but they're learning to learn something about themselves and the way they perceive all of these topics as well.
Yeah. Maybe that's a huge pursuit. And in history, people that have tried this pursuit have not lasted very long because, Dave, it's very difficult to really see. Our base of knowledge is actually so small in the big picture of things. In the big picture of things, the fact is we don't know. We can do our best to speak as much as we can and to study and research things and adapt. But the higher picture of all things, the truth is we know very little and perhaps nothing at all. But that being said, that's why I think individual discernment is so important, and to talk about how to cultivate the ability to listen to things, to take in the information, and to be able to tune into ourselves, what is true for us. And just like you and I go through processes of learning and discerning, I mean, we've changed our opinions about things many times over the years as more information reveals itself in the world. So I think that kind of evolutionary change of our mind and our expansiveness, that's part of the human nature. So I think it's really important to be able to hold space for that, because it's part of free will as well. And on the other side of that, we do our best to come into as much sincere truthfulness through our own filters that we possibly can, to give as much information that is in alignment with our higher self. And I think one of the best ways to be an example of a seeker of truth is to embody that as an example, to embody what we preach, embody what we're teaching, embody what we know, embody the real wisdom behind the information, even if it has to do with, ufology. We kind of compartmentalize as separate from spirituality and consciousness, but it's all one. It's all one. And science and spirituality is also one. And we're going to see more of that in the future. But as we bridge these the gaps between these systems and these schools of information, having the ability to allow all this potential information is important. So I think it's valuable. What you're doing is also allowing people to choose. You provide all the information. Yeah, you provide all the information that you can possibly provide, and it's actually the listener that has to discern for themselves what is true. They have to. And that's the beauty of having these kinds of platforms, that people have the power to do that, and they should exercise that power. The thing is that I think a lot of listeners don't. They might not know that they can exercise that power, and that's dangerous, because that's where we start going into systems of control and monopolizing information and the way people think, and it turns into a religion or some kind of some concept that is limited. So it's interesting information.
It very much is. The second thing I wanted to ask you tonight before we got into audience questions: have you ever been haunted by a spirit or location, or where you, and when I use the word haunted, I'm saying called. Like, is there a location that you continually get called to, that you need to go visit for some sort of journey that they on the other side want to put you on? Have you ever had that happen?
Haunting. I mean, I've experienced, and I experience mediumship or communication with disembodied souls all the time, honestly. And I'm in constant awareness of them. But I've never, and every time that I've experienced an attention calling event, like, they shake your keys, or they steal something, or they make things fall around, or they do these things to get attention, I've always been able to communicate with them in order to understand what's happening. And most of the time when that happens, then if you're connected to yourself, you can kind of guide the being towards the light, because a lot of it is because they are disconnected, they are lost, they are confused, or they're severely attached to this plane in some way. So as a guidance system, I do this healing for people in the waking state, people that are conscious and alive. It's the exact same work when we are in between, because what's happening is ghosts, entities, attachments, they are trapped in between states of frequency. So we guide that. We can guide that. Everyone can do it if you understand how to create a nice energetic boundary for yourself. And the boundary is love. It is love. It is unconditional love. And
I'll tell you what I'm going through right now.
yeah, tell me.
The past 4 weeks, I have been getting, I don't know how to explain it. I'm going to use the term, because it's fun, telepathic messages from an area here that scares the daylights out of me.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the area that I was telling you earlier this year, when Merle, myself, and Samantha Mowat went out there to investigate.
Mm-hmm.
And about the last 4 weeks, I keep getting these, lack of a better term, telepathic messages of the area. Basically, the feeling I get is that it's willing me to come back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that area scares me. Doesn't scare me during the day, but evening into night, it scares me. I don't get scared very often, but that area scares me.
Mm-hmm.
I'll walk into a haunted house, not a problem.
Yeah.
Not a problem, right? I'll stand under the stars and watch for UFOs all night long. Not a problem. I'll go into my forest spot and look for Bigfoot. Not a problem. But this area scares me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know why it's calling me back. I haven't gone down that journey yet to ask, why are you calling me?
Okay.
But it keeps giving me visions of things that I need to do. That
Okay.
it's unfinished
Wow.
business there.
Yeah. Okay. So that's so awesome. So what I tend to find when these kinds of experiences happen is that I have ancestral history with that location. So past life, or some kind of entanglement. There's an entanglement. Entanglement is a very, very important concept to understand. And the fact that you went there in the first place means that you had work to do in the first time. So probably that activated DNA. But what is DNA? DNA is the bioelectrical memory system through our morphogenetic field, which connects us to all things. And when we go to sacred lands, or to really lands that are heavily with karma, which means like a lot of heavy, heavy energy, a lot of, it could be a lot of death. When there is death, or when there are interdimensional activities in those places, these are portals. These are portals that are active in those spaces. What is a portal? A portal, it's a wormhole, essentially, that can enter into any other dimensional plane. It's a connecting place. So the bioelectrical charge in those places are really huge. And for somebody that is connected and has a vision like you and, Samantha Mowat and Meryl, for example, that went, right? you guys went there, all of you are quite interdimensional. So you activated the memory in the land, which activates the memory of things that you have done, things that are unfinished for all of you. You all have your own little agreements there. So yeah, so the invitation is really for you to go into that calling and to get really clear about what it is. And the activation of that fear, it's so primordial. It's so like primal at the very core of yourself. You know, this is an initiation. It's an invitation for initiation for you. When we have such severe emotional reactions to places, there is some lesson, karmic lesson. What is karma? Karma is cause and effect. Anytime that we acted outside of our core ethics or morals at some point in our timeline, we have activated that memory. You did when you went there. So that's unfinished business that has to be addressed. So the invitation is to, you know, face that fear. And the overcoming of that fear is going to open up new downloads, new informations, new timelines, and new relationship with this land. So, you know, there's a lot going on there. So, you know, try to get in there. It's beautiful what you're experiencing. It might seem scary, but it's actually really beautiful.
Well, considering I've been chased out of that forest twice by Bigfoot, twice in
Interesting.
6 years.
Mm-hmm,
I've
mm-hmm.
seen a UFO on the ground. My teammates saw an alien walking through the trees. We've seen full body apparitions there. We've heard the sounds. We've heard the growls. We've heard, you know, the roars of Sasquatch way off in the distance. Like, it has been a lot of stuff going on there. And never mind the rest of the wild animals that are there. And I guess the fear that I have in going back there, this is what I'm fighting, is it's a different place daytime to nighttime.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter the time of day. You don't hear birds in that area.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It is silent. Now, my theory on it is that the Sasquatch that are there are guardians of the spirits that are there.
100%.
I'm very cognizant of that.
Mm-hmm.
But the place scares the hell out of me.
Yeah.
And I'm fearful to go, especially as dusk turns to night. But I know that in order to do what it's seeming like they want me to do there, I'm going to have to do that. And I have to overcome that fear.
Right. Right. And I think it's also it's a you know, our life experiences are manifestations of our deepest fears internally. So it's the fear of the unknown that we are battling here, and it's such an incredible experience that you're having an opportunity, and you know that what is being asked from you is in alignment with your highest self. I mean, you have to see that. You have to see if it is. And if it is, then, you know, this is something that will open up a new doorway for you, because overcoming that level of fear is huge. Because you see, the thing is, actually, you helped create that portal, Dave, actually. Okay, so you helped create that. It's like in your DNA. It's like you come from those stars systems that create those openings into these dimensional realms. It's you. It's a reflection of you. So the only thing that is coming to overcome is the fear of the unknown, which is one of the biggest lessons for any human on this planet. You know, so it's also going to help you with things that, like, I think you've been battling maybe other times in the past, like wanting to have that connection with the interdimensional, you know, and overcoming this will open that. So yeah, I think it's an exciting time, and being ready for that, being prepared for that.
What would you be prepared for? Do you
And
trust your gut? Do you trust your instincts? Do you just let nature take its course where, you know, you've put your trust into the spiritual side of things? How do you do it?
I mean, it's every moment is a learning process of becoming friends, reacquainted with the unknown. And every choice that is made is in the direction of the unknown. So usually the things that I'm afraid of the most, I find that when I go in that direction, that's when major gifts and surprises and transformation come into my life. It's usually the times that I want to recede back into the comfort, what's known, what is like easy, that I get smacked in the face, so to speak, with major lessons. So what I'm learning now is go in the direction of the fear. That is your freedom. So
What if it's what if it's setting me up for something dangerous?
well, the thing is, like, what's the biggest fear there is death or the annihilation of the self. So I think we need to become friends with death. And that is a lesson that you're going to see in every part of your life, from intimacy to relationships to love to fear, to control or the lack of control, So what you're learning in that moment is like it's the alchemization of the humanity into its real form, which is the all and nothing. We are the non-physical more than we are the physical. The only little part that's afraid of danger is the 1 to 2% part of you that is the physical. And that's the thing that we have to remember. The attachment is all from this tiny little vessel that is just the 2% of the greater light that you are. And even if we die, you're not going anywhere. The physical will dissolve, perhaps. Okay. And then, but your soul needs to move on. And we have to exercise that awareness in order to see the bigger picture of these temporary experiences of discomfort that are presented to us in life.
Mm-hmm. I just don't know if I'm ready for Bigfoot to rip my arm off and club me to death, Geraldine.
But why do you think Bigfoots do that? And
Well,
why do you think they're going to do that to you? Everything.
I will tell you this. I
Yeah.
have 2 areas, this
Mhm.
being one of the areas. These ones seem to be a little bit more aggressive. The ones at my other spot are a lot more curious. Obviously, 2 different clans, but that may change if I spend a lot more time up there and they know who I am.
So here's the thing where this kind of dilemmas, which we all face in different ways in our life, is why understanding the laws of the universe is the foundation. In the law of the universe, we have to understand the law of resonance. First of all, deep inside, the aggression that these beings, or the fear, or the possessiveness, or the controlness, or the territorialness that they feel about their space and the attachment that they have to that place that they have, is a reflection of a part of us that feels that way about us in some way. So this is a perfect example of the fact that what we believe subconsciously is reflected in our experiences, both in the waking state, me and you here, and in interdimensional experiences, which is why your experience is going to change the moment you address the fear that is coming up. And that's really the invitation. And I have exercised this, tested this theory time and time and time and time again. And I do with my clients. So I see that this is true. Every human has free will, but we actually are projecting the experiences that we're having from our subconscious mind. So we have some kind of relationship to those beings. We are related to them. Remember, we are one. And so somewhere down in your historical timeline, you have related with these beings that are more aggressive at some point. You have been them. You have experienced them somehow. There's a contractual agreement. So the contractual agreement is to overcome that resonant belief system, you know?
I get that. I get that. Either way, I'm not going to lie. I'm a little intimidated, and I'm trying to figure it out. I know
Okay.
I'll go back.
Yeah.
I've already talked to Merle about it. I've talked to a couple other people about it. I'm waiting to talk to Samantha about it. But I know I will go back. It's just a matter of trying to find the understanding of it all. Because after what happened last time, being chased out of the forest, and then like when we are leaving in our vehicles and having high pitched whistles right at our vehicles, like 30 feet behind us, it was scary. It was absolutely freaky. And I don't know if I want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
fighting right now is I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know. Like
So
I'm still way
here's
up in the air, even though I know I'm going to do it.
so here's another little piece of advice, if I may. You can work with these beings on a higher level. So in meditation, before you even consider going there, activate your crown and shine your crown light on top of these beings. Go back to the memory of that moment when they're chasing you and take a look at the agreement that you have with them. What is the agreement? Ask to be shown the agreement and begin to dissolve the agreement that is necessary. It will change the dynamic of the experience. And another thing is that we are creators. When you have your bubble around you and you set the intention for the experience before you walk into the experience, you get to choose what you experience. So create a symbol that represents the highest vibrational frequency outcome for what your relationship is with those beings, and put that symbol up in your space and be very connected to yourself, be very present. And a lot of times when I've had experiences like this, what I learned after running away many times is that when I stopped running and I looked at the being face to face, I was not harmed ever, ever, ever. In the most horrifying experience with Dracos, with dark, 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 dark energy. When you sit still, actually, you can alchemize the potential timelines. All beings have a consciousness and they respond to that awareness because that's what changes consciousness. So we actually have that power. So just maybe keep that in the mind, in the back of the mind as potential for this experience.
Would you do it?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I'm doing this kind of work all the time in my dream state. I'm encountering unreal things that terrify me, and to be present there, I'm learning to exercise that being still. And yeah, I'm proving this time and time again.
Do you think then, while you're trying to prove it to yourself, do you think then that the challenge ever gets easier? Or do you solve the riddle?
Well, I think once you accept the fact, truly accept, truly embody, truly integrate a deep understanding and a relationship with the unknown, you become that. And your emotions no longer become a weapon against you. It just becomes information. There's a certain point when you truly understand the unknown and the nature of the unknown. And you understand the emotional response that you're going to have as a human in your body in relationship to the unknown. It just turns into information. And it's not so much of connecting with the logical mind as it is really, truly connecting to your senses and acknowledging your emotions fully. That's really what it comes about. Acknowledging the information that's being presented in these experiences is what will set you free, because we're not attached to this idea of fear or being dissolved. And we We understand the higher laws that even if we're harmed physically, we can control the pain, or we can control ourselves, we can heal ourselves, we can regenerate. But our programming is so deep in thinking that we become victimized by any kind of physical aggression, that we let go of our power in that moment. And we get too identified with those potential timelines instead of all the other potential timelines that a human could manifest in that moment. So, that's like the human condition right now. And so for us to have these events, it's to wake us up in those moments and to let us choose, consciously a different way of being in that moment and take your power back. Because Dave, there is no way that these beings are more powerful than you. Period. So we just need to remember that. We need to remember who we really are. I mean, we have Sasquatch lineages in our DNA. We are them. There's no separation. We have those abilities. We have those gifts. We have that power. And when we deal with wild things, wild animals, it's the lack of control, and it's just acting from instinctual reaction, the primal part of them. So that's a part of us. And we know that when we integrate that part, it becomes information that we can then use as wisdom to navigate these experiences from a higher place.
We're pretty much at that time where we would normally take a break. Do you want to take a break here for a couple minutes?
Yeah, sure.
All right, we'll take a break. Geraldine Orozco, we'll be right back with her. This is just a YouTube edition show tonight, as old Davey here decided that could not get the radio side going, and it keeps stalling on me. So we're trying to figure out the tech issues as we speak. So, all right, we'll be right back.
Okay.
All right, Geraldine, I'm just going to put you in the back. Be right back, everybody. All right, I am back. Big thank you to Human Carl and Richard for the super chats. We are going to get into some audience questions here. I am going to be capping this at 2 hours tonight because I have to get this audio issue figured out. All right, there's Geraldine.
Yes.
All right, let's see who else we got here. You ready for some questions from our audience?
Yeah, let's do it. Good.
Major Lee, how are you? All right. I'm just checking to see. If you have questions for Geraldine, put them in capital letters. Geraldine, we're going to take this just to the top of the hour again, and then we'll call it the night.
Okay, that sounds great.
Let's start off with Human Carl, because we don't want to misconstrue him for an alien Carl. Geraldine, when passing over, go towards the light or turn away from it. Your opinions, please. The pros and cons.
So, I had a near-death experience. And in my near-death experience, I was presented with that white light, a tunnel of white light. And before entering into the white light, I was presented with my ancestors, my family members, my parents, my family, and an invitation to understand whether I wanted to continue my life in the world, physical world, or move on. And what I realized in that moment, that when I leave the physical body, just like we do in dream time every single night, we are simply entering into the wholeness of what we are. We are simply entering into the realm of these infinite potentials that are all fractals of ourselves. And in that moment, in that entering, before entering the light is you. You are the light. You're not really going into anything outside of you. You actually see who you really are in that moment of detachment from the physical body. The light is the source of your light, and entering into that light allows you to enter into any other dimensional plane that you are in resonance with, depending on your vibrational frequency. So, what I have seen is that when you are ready to let go of your agreements, once you finish your agreements here on this planet, your experiences, what you decided to do here, then you can go into the all. So I think that there are some belief systems out there that talk about the light being a false or something like this. But I have seen that the light is us, and that we have the ability of going into that. And really, when it's there's a lot of confusion or detachment from the physical body. A lot of times we can attach to the physical realm, and then we become like ghosts. We become attached to the earth realm, and we get stuck in between. So we don't even want to go to the light because we doubt the light. And we've doubted that light, which is the doubt in ourselves, all our lives, which is why we become ghosts in the first place. We become materialistic. We become attached to the material, and that's how you become a ghost. And so essentially, to go into the light is to go into the wholeness of yourself. And it has no name, it has no definition, it is the all. So this is what I've seen. I mean, we could talk about it for a very long time, but just to short answer, it's the light is you. And from that light, we become nothing. And every time in my hypnotherapy sessions with clients, when they have gone through the lights into death, they find themselves, moving through what looks like time and space, or these constructs of open space, where they enter immediately into another lifetime, or they begin to enter into this empty space of nothing. And they experience another facet of experiences. It could be through the senses or through what they're seeing, what they're experiencing. And all of that is happening through different lights, which are essentially, they are portals, they are vortexes, they are vortices into other dimensions. And it's basically the navigation of our entire light body that we are experiencing. So this is my take on that.
Do you think that we are just programmed to seek out the light?
I'm not sure if I would call it a program. I think that we are light, we are energy, we are life force. I think light is something that we have defined it as because we have built a construct of time and space for us to be able to measure. But it's a very limited, it's a very temporary perception, and it's a very limiting perception. When you start looking at things as non-physical, as light, it's very vast. It's so vast that the human can't really understand it. And it's just pure energy. It's just pure energy. So I think that that's what we are innately. We are pure energy.
In your situation where you had that happen,
Mm-hmm.
why did you decide to come back? Because usually you get an option.
Yeah, I did. I had an option. I decided to come back. First of all, I died because I was in doubt of my mission. I was in doubt. I was not wanting to take hold of my mission. I didn't want to have the responsibility of that mission. I wasn't accepting it, basically. And so the invitation in that moment was, okay, so you're not finished, but are you ready to take it on? And if you don't take it on, we're going to meet here again, basically, is what the message was. And it's true. I touched that ceiling a couple times after that, just to prove it to myself. But essentially, the embracing of your purpose here is what I was shown is the impact of the embracing of that mission, not only on my soul's wholeness, but on the wholeness of the souls in my family, in my ancestral lineage. So all of a sudden, I began to realize this isn't about me, the me that I know, Geraldine. Geraldine is nothing. There's no Geraldine. Geraldine is the illusion. But the impact of the alchemy of my life's purpose is what creates a ripple effect into the collective of energy. And that is what was important. So when I understood that, it kind of changed my perception of things tremendously. And it was easier because now I can just let go of this little identity that I have.
Did you feel that you let down the beings on the other side when you decided to come back here? Or did they understand? What's your opinion?
Well, what I noticed in that moment, all of my ancestors from both my lineages came forth. Their expectation, and not their expectation, but their suffering would be understood by my mission, by me embracing my mission. Number one, that's on the lower level. On the higher level, the interdimensional beings that came forth, because they also came forth, what I realized is that I became afraid of my mission because I was listening to one lineage of beings, and that was a mistake. And that's where I began to learn discernment of who I'm channeling from, who I'm getting information from. Because I began to realize that when I connect with beings that are parasitic, even if their information is important, valuable, and true to some extent, when I start feeling feelings of this is important, this is urgent, this is, you have to do this, or, you're going to get sick, or you're going to die, or something like that, those kinds of urgent timelines are against natural laws. And I realized that the reason why I ended up in that place is because I was following that fear-based urgency. And those are always false realities. And that happens a lot in the spiritual journey. We are met with all kinds of beings that propose to us paths. And sometimes those are profound distractions from the true path. The true path is unified and it's harmonious in all directions. Doesn't mean it's easy, doesn't mean it's not going to be fearful, doesn't mean it's not going to be painful. But the ability to hold space in the highest truth is actually the one that is unifying all things. Anything that takes you into separation or compartmentalization or the ego-based whatever perception is always going to cause suffering for yourself and the collective. So that's when I learned the difference. And in that perspective, those beings also grew with me. They also alchemized when I made the choice to come back into the body. And we ended our contract. And I began to work with just the higher self at that point. So that was the lesson for me, though. Yeah.
Interesting. All right. I love those answers. Let's go over to another question. Let's go to Little Cam here. Do you believe our souls reincarnate in a linear fashion? Example, I die in 2095. Will I not reincarnate until after that?
I was just preparing a presentation to explain this last night because it's super important. The way that I see things is that if you can imagine, let me try to, a web of made of light. At the source of the web is, let's say, the source. From that source, all these little rays and threads of light are lifetimes that you're living simultaneously. The entire web are all potential timelines that you're living simultaneously. Now imagine that this little web, imagine that it's moving in the wind. Every movement, every oscillation is a different vibrational frequency, and it changes the entire movement of the web. As you oscillate from lower frequency to higher frequency collectively, what you can see through the little threads and your perceptions of the experiences through those threads, they change. It changes like rays of light, like different shades of blue, for example. Okay, so basically you're existing simultaneously, and every point on that web that is aware, that becomes conscious, that is grounded in the present moment and in awareness, becomes aware in dream state and gently begins to wake up its other aspects of its lifetime simultaneously. So you begin to travel around the web. So those of you that are lucid dreamers, those of you that are astral projecting, having interdimensional activities and conscious about it, and practicing your free will, this is how you activate and you bring those little dots of your web into consciousness. And essentially that raises the vibrational frequency of the whole web. Okay, so incarnation in that sense is absolutely not linear. Everything is happening simultaneously and everything is moving simultaneously. And your access to simultaneous timelines will completely depend on your vibrational frequency in this moment. Your vibrational frequency is based on your subconscious belief systems. Okay, how does this apply to death? At death, your vibrational frequency, everything that you are from all your subconscious beliefs, creates a sound, creates a waveform, creates a frequency, a geometric shape. That creates a resonance that will move you through your web aligned with that same form and shape. Okay, so you're going to go to the next thread that is the match to that shape and that form and that sound. This is how incarnation essentially works. The light is simply moving through this entire system constantly and infinitely. And the light and its color and its frequency turns on other lights simultaneously. So why do I strongly feel this way? As a clinical hypnotherapist working with people revisiting their past lives, the access that a human has at any given time to the kind of past lives that they have, it's all based on frequency. And all the lives that they access are a match to the frequency of the being in their current life. And what they heal when they begin to revisit these lives heals the current life. So what it is information is energy. It's frequency. And the more we become whole, the more we expand our capacity to experience different ranges of understanding, expanding our perception. We are also expanding our frequency, which lets you become the whole web. So you become whole when you become the whole web. And the web is essentially memory. Okay, so you're bioelectrical. Every time that you become conscious, you become a conduit. Remember that. Remember, when you become conscious in the present moment, now you turned on your spark, your energy, because you're now a conduit of energy. That bioelectrical ignition is what will ignite all of these other aspects of yourself that are available to you. So, so I'll leave it there. So and again, reincarnation is about frequency. You get to choose what you experience next based on your vibrational frequency. And you can deduct from that, which is what people say, you get to choose what you experience next. And the lessons that you haven't learned in this lifetime are what are going to define the experiences that you have in your next lifetime, your simultaneous experience of awareness, of reaching potential awareness. That's what lifetimes are. They're opportunities for reaching potential awareness.
All right, let's move on to another one here. Let's go to Joe. What keeps your Buddha from falling over?
It's on a pedestal. Guy's not going anywhere. It's nice and safe, Joe. Thank you.
Let's go to Latchkey. Did we as humans used to be closer to our full capacity? And if so, what caused the gap we see now?
100%. I'm going to be talking a lot about this on my channel, guys. So definitely check that out. We have disconnected from the laws of the universe, number one. Those are innate truths of how we function fundamentally and our connection to nature. Nature provides for us the awareness of the patterns of self-organizing intelligence that create highest forms of harmony. Anytime we fall out of harmony with those patterns of symmetry and order, we become disconnected from ourselves and from the whole. So as you can see, we have a million things in our life that disconnects us from that. And our invitation is to immediately distill those things that distract you from coming back into that centered truth, and to even be able to define or recognize truth in yourself, in everything outside of you. And this is something that is going to be seemingly harder for the human as artificial intelligence starts to come into the realm of all areas of our lives. And my invitation is, please reconnect with yourself, reconnect with nature, and cultivate your internal technology. All of the ancient civilizations that we look at like, oh, they had advanced technology, but we still have this idea that they were primitive or not as advanced. Well, we need to learn from those civilizations, and everything that we uncover from that is the practices that we need to embody today, because they knew the arts. This is why in Egypt you trained dream state, walking in dream state, where you are aware of the afterlife and you train in the afterlife. And in the next 3 years, there's going to be major discoveries about a new origin of humanity in South America. And South America is going to begin to uncover a new way of understanding our evolution. So we need to learn from the things that we're uncovering. And we need to embody that closeness, coming back to that connection, not being afraid of interdimensionality, of our human natural potential and technology, Telepathy should be a natural thing for all of us. Remote viewing, natural ability for all of us. Intuition, discernment, natural. Self-healing abilities, natural. And basic knowledge. That's something that we are reconnecting with right now. So yeah, that's the gap. The gap is that we have disconnected from that. We depend on the pharmaceutical, industries that run the food, run everything. I mean, our world is upside down right now. So when we learn that we are self-healing, that we are sovereign individual systems of creation, that's when we're going to see major changes in ourselves and the world outside of us.
That's cool. That is very, very cool. We got a bunch more questions here for you. All right. Let's go over to Toe Tag. Geraldine, do you feel seekers are looking in the wrong place for spiritual enlightenment instead of looking within? It's not always in a book.
Right. Yeah, 100%. And also, I feel that in our spiritual community, we've kind of, some of us have gotten away from what is really important right now. And that's getting away from concepts and fantasies, and just pure experiences of things rather than deep embodiment and integration of these truths, of the innate gifts that the human has. And I think that even in the UFO topic, we have become somewhat distracted in a way that we're looking at our starseed lineages as something like a fantasy. And we get lost in the illusion of, let's say, we're Pleiadian or Arcturian. We get lost. So many people are getting completely deviated into that entire realm of consciousness. But let me tell you something. In the next 3 years, the real spirituality is going to come out. And what is the real spirituality? The real spirituality is the marriage between science and spirituality. So that's the mastery of your multidimensionality, the real cultivation of your emotions, the real mastery over your intuition, your vision must be developed. That is the real embodiment. And the integration of these abilities into the physical body, into your work life, your raising your kid life, your relationship life, your sexual life, your artistic, creative life, that marriage of all parts of the human facets with spirituality is the real integration of spirituality. And it's then that you will become like these extremely advanced races that we hear about and we see. What's missing here is the actual embodiment. So I think that that's something that we need to practice. And for me, I know for a fact that all these truths that I come across, these informations, even if I can read a million books and still talk to you the same thing, but it's not going to be the same because to experience it is completely different. There is a certain depth that you understand by experiencing, the vision or the cultivation of your vision, the cultivation of your emotions, the transmutation of suffering. If you experience that, you're activating DNA. You're changing your geometric form. You cannot get that through reading a book or even ayahuasca or some kind of psychedelic. You will experience touches of it and it will transform you temporarily. But unless you are actively integrating and truly embodying that into your experience now, it's just going to be an addiction to another experiential thing. So that's something that I'm really huge, and some people might think that maybe I'm old-fashioned to think this way. But I think that when we go back to our core roots, this is very much the cultivation of our organism. And that's where it's going to show in the future the difference between those that have cultivated a spiritual practice based in the mind rather than the integration into the physical, because it's a different way of being. Yeah.
Okay. I found that very interesting, that answer.
Mm.
Because I agree with you. It's not always in a book. There's a lot of life learning. And one of probably the most important lessons that I've learned is going out in nature, how
100%.
healing nature is. And I've said this on the show before, but one of the things I find very, very interesting, whether I'm out for a ride or I'm actually walking around the forest, is how much nature completely beats the tar out of me. And I am so tired when I get back that I could sleep for hours. And I've only been in the forest doing nothing. But nature has this way of being like a magnet and pulling all that crap out of you.
Exactly.
And it is one of the most powerful things. And I'm not even a tree hugger, not even close to being a tree
I
hugger.
am.
But
Yeah.
by the way, what's the temperature there right now?
In my apartment, it's probably 80 degrees. Out there, I think it's like 56 or something.
Oh, what I would do for 56 degrees right now. Oh, it's -3 Celsius, so it's about 30 degrees here right now.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh,
But getting back to that point,
yeah.
the energy that Mother Nature takes out of you is it is so powerful. And like I can sit there and I can drive forest roads for 3-4 hours. And I feel like I've put in a 10-hour day at work.
Interesting. Yeah. Hmm.
And and I feel great afterwards, but all I really want to do is crawl back into my bed and just go back to sleep. I'm assuming it's the fresh air, it's the letting loose, but the magnetism that Mother Nature has in order to pull all that shit out of you is incredible.
Yeah. I think the key word that you said right there, letting loose. And I notice that this happens when I'm in a constant state of like resistance and contraction most of the time. And I go into nature and I finally release. I'm wiped out. I am. But what it's showing me, it's like I was holding on to so much. And it really makes you kind of look at like, what if I was in this more connected? What nature does is it brings you back into the present moment. You are in awe of the beauty around you, of the nature of this language of symmetry that is in all things around you, and it brings your body into symmetry. When we go into symmetry, we open up all our channels in our body for us to release. So in the regular world, in the regular homes and in the regular life, we're all messed up. Our symmetry is complete disorganized, disconnected. So energy is blocked. It keeps getting blocked, usually here in the first 3 chakras. So that's where we holding, resisting. The resistance is any time that we are not aware of what we're feeling every moment of our day, which is a practice we cultivate, with time. You're going to be storing a lot of things unconsciously. So I think one invitation to try is to come more into absolute awareness of the emotions that you're feeling throughout your week, and try to be in constant state of like grounding. I visualize the center of the earth, and I visualize that I have a cord from my body down to the earth. And every emotion that I acknowledge, I immediately acknowledge and then just gently release the charge that it created inside my body and just offer it into the center of the earth. And what it does is it balances the positive and negative charges in your body, which is exactly what happens when you go into nature. You're balancing the positive, negative charges in the body. So when we have a lot of those negative charges in the body, we get a lot of free radicals, a lot of heavy, heavy energy, and that creates stress. We release cortisol, which creates inflammation, in the body, and that can really dysregulate our entire nervous system. So yeah, so it's really amazing that you mentioned that. I literally went on a hike today and I was wiped out after. And I was thinking today, why did this happen? And I realized I was holding on to so much, and I hugged a tree actually. Oh my God, it just completely like a wave of energy went through me, clearing my energy field. So yeah, so it really brings our attention.
Have you ever, two questions here. Number one, have you ever, when you've hugged a tree, told it how beautiful it is?
All the time.
And do you
All the time.
feel, isn't it crazy? I would never believe this if I didn't experience it myself. But don't you find it crazy how the tree actually responds?
100%.
It is nut bar how that happens. Like the tree will actually, if you're open enough to it, the tree will actually send you love back.
Yes. Like a father or a mother love. It
Yeah.
is so unreal. And you just reminded me, you were talking about, does a place ever call you back? I
Yeah.
will tell you that I've experienced that with trees. It's so crazy in places that I've never been before, but the trees will call me because trees have messages.
Yes.
And they talk to you. And I would go to different trees and touch them until I went to the tree that was calling me. And when I touch that tree, I am coming into a different download. I'm in a different dimension, and I'm being shown images and all this information. And there's, through the mycelium network of the trees, we're connected to that. Just like there's the Akashic records interdimensionally, through trees and through plants, there's another network of memory that's available to us as well. And I think we connect to that.
The other question that I have before we move on to more audience questions, by the way, I have like 9 favorite trees. They're all
So beautiful.
in my front yard.
Oh,
All about 70 feet tall.
you're so lucky. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. And what I do at Christmas time, like right now, actually have laser beams that shoot up into the trees that make them sparkle.
Oh,
The
yeah.
trees look extra pretty in Christmas time. I think they like it personally.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It makes them look gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I go and tell them that. I do.
Oh,
So
I'm sure they feel it and they love it.
oh,
It's, yeah,
oh,
that's your family right there.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I love
The
that.
question that I had for you, because you live in San Francisco, you often head out to the forest to meditate. I've seen your photos, but you also head to the ocean quite a bit. What is the difference between the energy pull from the ocean compared to the forest?
The ocean has a really interesting way of repatterning frequencies back into a Fibonacci order. Um, the waves and the way that water moves is organized in spiral format. And when you go close to the ocean, there is the movement of energy that is super cleansing, and it's formatted in that Fibonacci sequence. So I find that when these are different energies, because water, the element of water, is related to emotions. It's all about emotions, and it's all about the unconscious, the subconscious mind. So different kinds of healing takes place with the different elements. In whatever element you're working with, it will access and target different parts of you that need to be released. So when I go to the ocean, it's all about emotional cleansing. It's all about, deep memory release. It's really interesting, and it'll also activate a lot of memories for clearing. So sometimes, when I take groups or friends to the ocean, we go through major emotional cleansing in close to the ocean. When you're in the forest, it's a feeling of being held. It's an energy of mother father energy. It's different. And the earth has one form of energy, and trees and plants hold another form of energy. And so, as you can see, all of our healing, our pharmacy, and our healing of our physical bodies, because these target different organs, our organs are connected to different elements. It also helps clean the toxins in those different organs. When we go to the water, when we go to the forest, when we go to the earth. And so that is being cleansed. And the organs hold memory. and they hold different ranges of frequency, ranges of emotions, ranges of traumas. And every place that we go we're connecting to the earth grid, which is also another memory system. Just like the mycelium network underneath trees, the earth has ley lines. And wherever we go, we are activating the grids of memories in those places. So that's why for we shared earlier today this experience of the place in the forest. That's an activation of a ley line for you. And it happens when we visit sacred places that people begin to get downloads, or some people get sick even. You can get sick when you go to a ley line and something really comes up. That happened to me in Mexico. When I went to Mexico, memories of ancestral traumas and sufferings. So this is something that the ancients knew, and they talked a lot about this. The shamans do this. They practice that. So we want to learn how to access those little storage pockets of information, which are a reflection of our subconscious trappings of ourselves. And the more we release, the more we activate DNA, which is the activation of the bioelectrical membrane of the morphogenetic field. This is where we begin to become wholer and wholer every time we remember who we are more and more.
That is so amazing. All right, let's move on to another question. Let's go to Derek, who is asking, Geraldine, how can one get more close intimately with significant other? Tends to get dull the longer you are with someone. Is this just human nature? Any advice?
Yeah, I think the invitation here is to understand, because relationships really are meant for transformation. They support transformation, they support evolution. And just notice what parts have become dormant, which parts have fallen into states of comfort, and what is being avoided. Okay, so usually when we fall into patterns of deep comfort or deep, repetitive cycles, we're avoiding something individually and collectively. So the invitation, and this is where, things can start getting really, exciting, in other words, is that it's gonna trigger an awareness into these dormant parts, which will invite you to work with those. And that's where each individual human can begin to grow. Okay, so when we become too stagnant in our relationships and we're not evolving, we're not moving, first of all, we have to understand what we've fallen into the monotony. What is that dullness? Okay, and if there's some maturing that has to occur internally, individually, in order to hold space for the partner in a way that there's mutual growth in a conscious, aware way, that is a different level of relating in our relationships. And there's a lot that you might become aware of. It might be a lot about you. You might realize and wake up from this dream state of 20 years and realize where we've fallen asleep at some point. And the idea is that we always want to come back to truth and let go of avoiding things, resisting, and get into those parts that need to be addressed and looked at and healed, because that's where your growth is. And I think the most important thing is that we growing? Okay, focus on yourself. Are you growing? Are you growing internally? Have you advanced? Have you evolved? Have you changed? Have you healed parts of you? What are you avoiding? And that will allow you to change everything about your life, your relationship with yourself and with your partner. And this is both sexual and also, just an intimate relationship. Okay. And I think an important element is that when you go into the real spiritual path, your sex life also changes, because to embody true love and to make love with real love, no more hiding, no more fears, no more fears of intimacies or being truly seen, that's when you really experience a divine union. And it's a whole different level. So that's also an invitation that if we reach for that your life can change in a very healing way. You can heal each other.
Many would actually argue that, saying that humans aren't aren't really meant for monogamy.
Yeah. But I think, well, right now we're talking about personal evolution, right?
Right.
So, from that perspective, usually what happens is that when a human grows, and let's say the other person isn't aligned with growing, uh, they will fall out of alignment. Okay, so our concepts of marriage is limited. It's become very limited. And it takes a lot of strength for humans to be next to each other and to grow hand in hand next to each other. Okay, that divine union that is created in a compassionate, loving, completely authentic, raw state, that takes a lot of work. And not all of us are doing that, especially nowadays. We have become so disconnected from ourselves that we don't take that responsibility. We don't take that work. We don't want to do the work, the shadow work that is necessary for that. So a lot of people won't. And it's not so much about monogamy as it is about internal healing, individual healing. Like, are you prepared to really hold space for another person? What ego parts of us are egoic, that don't want to feel true love internally for yourself and for another. So it's a lesson of again, becoming whole. And to become whole is to experience true love, which is unconditional for yourself.
Okay. Let's get to Mike. How do you expect for masses to accept all of this? How can one prep for this? I believe many will never accept this way of thinking.
Yeah, I think we need to really focus on ourselves in that. Let us test it out. Let us become an example of it. Let's see if it's even true. Don't take my word for it. Check it out. Test it out. See if it's true in your life. Test it out in your relationships and in your personal development. And if you see an improvement in the direction of becoming more authentic and more real with yourself, then you're going to look different. And that's a good thing, because right now our entire society is profoundly inverted. And we have to understand, since the industrialization of man, where we separated from nature, that's when humanity started to believe things that weren't true. So right now we're living lies. All of us are living lies. We're living in society filled with lies. We're living in internal lies with ourselves. We feel emotions about things that are not even authentic, where they were borrowing concepts. We're adopting ways of feeling that are not truly our own. And that takes a lot of work to unpack and truly see. So the human that does that work is not going to look like the average human fitting into an unfit society. It's like a sick society. Okay. So we need to, that's why we're pioneers. And that's why we talk about breaking patterns, because we are breaking generations of sickness internally, mentally, emotionally, in order to become healed. And that's something that none of us are familiar with. We don't have models of that in our societies. We have to become the models of that. And it's going to be scary. It's going to feel lonely. It's going to feel disconnected. You're going to feel weird. That's okay, because what we are experiencing collectively is a re-education of what is truth and what is actually aligned with nature.
I love it. Let's go to another question here. Let's go to Derek again. How can one break habits that they've had since childhood?
So the first step to that is to, of course, recognize the habit. The second is to begin to understand why we have adopted that habit. Okay, so where did we get it from? Did we get it from mom or dad, neighbor, cousins? Where did we get it from? Okay. The next step is to question, are we aligned with that? Is that really how you feel? Or did you, again, adopt this belief system? Okay. And that's a really hard one. What you're going to find when you're in that moment of looking like, is this like, do I really feel this way? You're going to realize, wow, like pretty much all my emotions are not really my true, genuine expression. That's a really tough, dark night of the soul that a lot of you are going to go through. Okay. So Do not attach to anything that you don't check and see, fact check with your core values. This is how you will learn who you really are. So as you begin to unpack these belief systems that you've adopted, you're going to see who you really are. And what you're going to find is that, a lot of the things and the personalities that you've held on to, they're not really who you are. Those are just survival mechanisms. So begin to discard those masks that you've been wearing. Okay? Who are you? And as you begin to see who you really are, you're going to learn how to embody authenticity, true authenticity. The authenticity is something that is deep awareness of your true emotions, feelings, what is true for you, and you being able to hold space for your truth, even if it's hard, even if it's not accepted by anyone, even if you judge it as wrong. So the key is to come in as much neutral, non-judgmental observation of yourself or others when you're doing this work. The more you begin to recognize these patterns in yourself, you're going to notice them in those aggressors or those people that have caused the trauma to us. And here's the other part. You're going to realize that most of you have become the aggressor or the one that has caused the pain and these limiting belief systems. We've literally become exactly like them, and we're repeating that pattern. So the next step is to begin to observe, how long am I repeating this pattern? And to get really honest about how it's affected your life. And that's hard for a lot of people because we're in denial. Some of us, we think, oh my God, I've had a great childhood. Everything was perfect. Like, I had a loving family. That's what I thought. When I began to really look into it, now I began to see the truth. And it can be very painful because all your illusions of yourself, of your family life, are going to fall apart. And you need to be able to hold space for that truth. That is the exercise of training yourself to be friends with the unknown. That's the unknown. The unknown is truth. So the next step is essentially to program new belief systems. Okay. So now that we identified what is not true, okay. So for example, we learned that it's going to be painful to speak our truth. Let's say that's the truth, and we become an entire personality of that. Okay, well, what is truth? What does it look like when I speak my truth? How does my nervous system react when I get resistance when I speak truth? All of that is a new emotional state of being. It's a new programming. You have to feel those emotions in your body. You have to visualize all of these traumatic experiences with this new programming and see what happens. Like, imagine it's a videotape of your life. You press pause, you change the emotion, you press play, and now you see how everyone responds to you with the new emotion. How does mom respond when you own your truth and you don't get affected by her resistance? How does dad respond? You're going to learn a lot really quickly about yourself and about others. And this will expand your perception, and it will heal your body and your mind, because you're going to get to know yourself in a profound way. And you're also going to learn and activate your emotional muscle system. You're going to activate DNA and even more memory. Program yourself to embody the new emotions. Okay, let's say confidence, self-acceptance in a deep way. Okay, that's your homework. You're going to practice. And every time that you start to recognize the triggers of the past coming up again, you're going to interrupt it and you're going to embody what you learned. You're going to fill yourself with confidence in that moment. You're going to feel the confidence in your body. And in that moment, you will see in real life the new reactions that you get around you. And trust me, it can be very scary because you're going to notice people are going to expect you to play your patterns. We have created patterns with loved ones, friends, brothers, sisters, mom, dad, lovers, and they're going to expect you because guess what? It's a resonance. You've built an entire relationship based on all of these old patterns. So things are going to get disrupted for some time. And be ready for that. Be ready for change. Okay, so that's just a quick little shortcut that I can say, but you can learn more on my channel.
We got 10 minutes, so let's try and boot through these.
Yeah.
American Cheese, welcome to SOR chat. If you lived multiple lifetimes, does that not confirm the hypothesis that the light recycles your energy for farm-like purposes?
So this is a very specific perception to think that consciousness can be trapped or manipulated into a farm. Okay. And when you see the bigger picture of things, as I mentioned, the web of light, we are everything. We are all, and we are also one. So at this, you can't have two, you can't know that you're one and then see things as separate at the same time. Those are paradoxes that are true, but we have to be able to hold space for both. So in this dimension, we are processing, these incarnations, and the more that the human becomes attached to the physical realm and to this form, we're always going to have the perception of being a victim of something else, because that's the dualistic perception. And it's only one very limited perception of infinite potentials. So I think, the laws of the universe are free will. So nobody can make you do anything you do not want to do and you are not aligned with, if you are conscious and if you are aware. If you're sleeping, anybody can do anything to you. You're not going to know, and you're going to be okay with it because you agree. Your agreeing is unconsciousness. So the invitation is that the more conscious and the embodiment of your free will that you take in this moment, now you get to play the creator. And that's a different timeline. It's a different reality. So you get to choose your reality. That's actually what it is.
Awesome. Let's go to Alchemist Alexander. Is the perception and level of consciousness awareness determined by the work we do internally? Some people seem blessed coming in with it already.
Yeah, definitely new souls are already more aware of these things, but it doesn't mean that they're not going to fall back asleep. Okay, so anytime we separate ourselves from ourselves, we lower our consciousness, we lower our frequency, we lower our awareness, we lower the way that we experience reality. Every time you wake back up, you get to experience things differently. So this is how much of a creator. It happens in vivo, which means in life, in the present moment, that you're constantly choosing your experience. And yes, your internal work, because the internal work is the cultivation of the present moment. Only in the present moment can you affect reality. Can you affect matter? Only in the present moment. Never when you're in the past or in the future can you affect matter or reality. You see this in like Jedi films. We are that. We are, the Jesus Christ consciousness that changes water into wine. We are that. So that's what we need to program back into ourselves.
All right, moving on. Let's go to Chicken Nuggy. How did you know these beings were your ancestors?
Yeah, so essentially, my grandmother showed up with a basket full of bread. And as I look behind her, all of her ancestors, of course, I recognized them, appeared. And I am saying thousands of people showed up, okay? And on this other side, from my mother's lineage, her ancestors showed up. And I recognized them. When you're in the afterlife, all the veils lift. And you can see the information that you couldn't see when you're in the physical realm. So I also recognize my past lives as my ancestors, my connections to them. And this is massive amounts of information that comes in simultaneously. So you become aware of your past lives, your connections to your ancestors, and the lessons that you've had with them, the suffering and the enlightenments that have been in our ancestral lineage. All of that is downloaded to me immediately. This helps me understand the importance, essentially, of my existence in this incarnation and what I'm doing, like the importance of the work that I'm doing here. And it's an understanding that is given. And I actually heard this experience from many people when I listened to these past live and also near-death experiences. So a lot of people seem to meet their family members in this after moment.
Interesting. All right, let's move on. We only got about 4 minutes, so we're going to try and burn through a bunch of questions here.
Okay.
Let's go to Luna. Dreamt I went to a gas station and the clerk scanned a lotto winning ticket that the machine read as 447 million. First time I dream an exact amount. Some lottery winners dream it before winning. What do you think the meaning is?
So, Luna, the meaning is completely up to you. Okay, we have to pay attention to the dreams. Every single number is important. Okay, 4 represents practical application of spiritual wisdom. 7 represents intuition. Okay, so the combination and the integration of these two things can guide you into accessing some level of abundance somewhere, or unlocking a gift, a financial gift, or financial security, or opportunity. So the invitation is really to learn how to access the information of these dreams through the symbols that are provided to us. I would also pay attention to the colors that are there and the way that you felt in that moment in order to get a full picture. So we would have to talk about that. Yeah, you can connect with me if you want to talk about more.
All right, let's go to Mighty Meat. So if we are not happy with this life, wouldn't it be best to move on to the next one? Like I really want to be a chicken, thinking about rolling into the next life here soon.
Okay, sounds great. Yeah, the thing with moving on to the next one, let's say suicide. Here's the bummer about why that won't work so well. When we're about to commit suicide or leave this earth like immediately without finishing what we're supposed to do here, it's like a newborn exiting before the newborn has developed or matured. Okay, so it's like taking the food out of the oven before it's even cooked and then trying to enjoy that. It's basically wasted. It's useless, you know? So in this same way, when we exit out when it's not our time, a lot of things happen. First of all, the level of karma that is incurred in that, cause and effect that is incurred in that for yourself, is based on the vibrational frequency that you left. So despair, fear, exhaustion, whatever you haven't alchemized in your life, lowers your frequency into those, and that becomes a match to the next life. So what happens is that in the next life, you're going to repeat everything that you were trying to avoid in this lifetime in some way or another. That's the problem. So the invitation is to try to, and some people are designed to have that life where they leave early. They're designed for that. Okay. It's ancestral. But what we want to do is we want to break the unconscious patterns of the ancestral lineage and alchemize them, overcome them to become in harmony with your existence. And that will literally allow you to choose at the time of death, because if at death you're in a state of harmony and peace and love, your frequency is higher. So you have more availability to choose what you want to experience next. And that's not talked about a lot, but you will be a match to another potential experience that's aligned in a higher vibrational frequency for you. Okay. And again, remember, you're infinite potential. So, actually you probably are a chicken in a simultaneous timeline. Why not connect with that life as a chicken? And what lessons do you want? What do you want to experience from that? Bring that into this lifetime and see if it helps in some way.
Here we go. Debaruni is asking, Geraldine, why is it easier to love animals than most people?
So I think animals exist in the present moment. They create a force field of presence that presence is non-attachment. So animals are able to hold non-attached states of peace and harmony with themselves. And that's something that we humans, we thirst for, because that's our innate state, but we don't cultivate that. So when we align with nature, when we align with animals, we are able to embody that for a small moment. The thing is, you can cultivate this love with humans if you are willing to practice non-attachment, non-expectation, and become a source of unconditional love in that moment with whoever. That's how you will experience that with everyone, that you become a source of unconditional love for yourself, and not expecting a reciprocation from anyone.
Okay. Couple more, then we're going to end it. Sierra is asking, Geraldine, I'm terrified of spiders. How do I get them to stay away from my house? I feel unsafe when they are in my house. That's just phobia, isn't it?
Yeah. What were you saying, Dave?
I said, that's just phobia, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a phobia, but the underlying challenge here is the fear of our own intuition. Spiders represent intuition. It represents the mother, the oracle of knowing. Okay. And that's why the symbology of spiders have been used in many like ancient lore, in many different ways. Not only the 8 legs, which represents infinity, which is infinite access to the divine. It's also connected with the womb and the mother and creation, and the web, the creation of the web and the universe that connects all things. So when we fear spiders in such a severe way, and I was like this, I see it every time in my sessions, the connection between the symbolism of the spider and the fear of our feminine aspect. Doesn't matter what your sex is, the feminine aspect of yourself, which is the intuition, the mother, that has to be healed. Okay, so we need to heal our relationship with the mother, our own mother, our internal mother, and then the mother of guidance, of vision, of truth, which is the intuition. So work on the relationship with truth, intuition, and the feminine, the divine feminine. That's my invitation to you.
Okay, continuing on here. We got 3 more. Necessary Dialogue is asking, what is the first step for understanding consciousness?
You see, the thing about consciousness, it's not really something to be understood. That's the thing about it. You literally cannot understand consciousness because our construct, our minds, our physiology, our biology is too limited to be able to understand really truly what consciousness is. And consciousness is something that cannot be really defined. And I know that that's really hard to grasp. Consciousness is something it's an emergence. It's an emergence that happens through the integration of all your parts. Okay. So essentially, to experience consciousness, it's the molding of yourself, the non-self and the whole physical self, through consistent presence, and being able to sustain presence in the unknown without the limitations of the physical human logical mind. And yet integrating that logical mind with the intuitive aspect that allows you to overcome the fear of the unknown helps you access and experience these emergence of consciousness through you. So we come into the present moment and work on your fear of the unknown in all parts and all areas of yourself. The part of you that becomes aware is that part that's beginning to experience tastes of emerging consciousness through that awareness. It's through the awareness that consciousness emerges, really. And again, that's one level of the pursuit of consciousness, because we're just talking about the physical self and the mind and the spiritual aspect of ourselves. So don't get stuck on that as a final concept. Everything is conscious. It is the fabric of all existence. So, so again, from that perception, it's not just about, attaining. You're not attaining anything. There's nothing to be attained. It's what emerges. I know that I hope that's clear in some way. It's a hard one.
All right, let's go to Robert. My question is on your view of shadow beings.
I mean, there's millions of different kinds of shadow beings, really. So the shadow beings that I've come in contact with are always there's an entire so there's different ranges of frequency of shadow beings. Okay, first of all, American Indians talk about shadow beings as being these interdimensional beings that are interacting with us in the physical. But in relation to any shadow being, it's learning how to cultivate intuition, how to practice your energetic boundaries of yourself, because ultimately everything is a projection of ourselves. So when we have experiences with shadow beings, we need to observe our relationship with our shadow. Okay? And I know that sounds like a cliche answer, but at the very fundamental core, we create everything and we are somehow projecting these things. And even though everything else has its own consciousness, has its own free will, we participate in binding ourselves to these experiences through our resonance. Okay? So just kind of observe, what is your relationship with shadow aspects, with the unknown, with the no-face parts of ourselves subconsciously.
All right, final question goes to Luna. Ever practice the phone call manifestation meditations? That kind of stuff, does that kind of stuff work? Received call from a specific person? Are those exercises the real deal? What technique to manifest works for you? So it's like 4 questions in one.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So, yes, every time that we clear our energetic space with someone, it will invite them to come into awareness. Okay. But that's just a side effect of what happens. So I invite you to cut cords with everyone at the end of your day, and with people that you're thinking of or wanting to call you. Cut cords and see what happens. Okay. Because every single time that we clear our energetic space, we are neutralizing what we've kind of defined for our relationship, what we've thrown back at each other, back and forth energetically. It kind of becomes crystallized over time. And that's why sometimes we have long-standing conflicts that never get resolved, because we're constantly throwing back the same patterns of behavior energetically. So we have to clean up our energetic space. So cut cords all the time, which means calling back your life force that you have given unconsciously, and let go of what you've taken that doesn't belong to you. Okay, that level of awareness will lighten up your energetic space, which will open up space for manifestation. When you're full of someone else's energy or full of your own fears and your own emotions, there's nowhere to add things. Okay, there's no way to manifest. Your frequency is slow moving, stagnant, and blocked. So in order to manifest, step number 1 is to clear what you have in your body. Clear your mind, clear your energy, your energetic body. Imagine your 13 bodies, clear them out. They are spheres around you, in you and around you. Clear them out. Imagine that you're vacuuming them out and your bubble becomes crystal clear, empty. Okay? From there, now you can start to get clear about what you want. When you start to ask or want things from a messy, stagnant place, you're always going to get things that you don't really want or that are going to cause you suffering and more pain. So in order to begin to access essentially some level of manifestation, and you're clearing it so you can actually come into alignment with your higher self. The true manifestation is that you are aligning with your higher self. Therefore, your higher self as a frequency, embodied frequency, becomes a magnet to people, places, things, and experiences that are in alignment with the higher self. That's true manifestation. So that would be the invitation for the manifestation. And your final question, how do we practice this? Well, yeah, that's it. And then I talk a lot about this. I can't fill it in all the way, but you can check out my YouTube. I have a lot of videos on that. Thank you.
All right. Geraldine, thank you so much for being here and staying a couple minutes late. I apologize to everybody else. I have to figure out this audio issue here for tomorrow night, but I just want to say a big thank you. Much love. I hope you have a Merry Christmas and a great holiday season for you, and we'll talk to you in early January.
Yes, much love. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas to you and your family and all the listeners. Love you so much, and I'll see you soon.
You take care, my friend. And for the rest of us, tomorrow night, Victor Vigiani is going to be here. There's a bunch of Canadian UFO news we're going to get to. I got to cut out here a little bit early because I got to figure out this audio. Good night to all of you. Thank you to Richard, Human Carl, and the Grifter Lee himself for the super chats. Greatly appreciated. Good night, everybody.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.